Get ready.
They say they need to ban the podcast equipment and take y'all mics away. And oftentimes when I listen, shit, I agree.
For real talk.
Hey, man, just because we know people don't mean that they know things. A lot of us was in the same classes with some of these folks. That don't mean they were passing these classes.
All the time.
It ain't the world leaving you behind, man. It's your line of thinking. You think the science stopped evolving because you stopped learning, and it don't work that way. I couldn't imagine voting for somebody who thinks identifying with me is identifying with a felon. That's crazy as hell. I'm Mrs. Spann, and I'm approving these messages. This is the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast. I'm your host, Mrs. Spann. This is episode number 58 of the show. And yeah, man, it has been about a week since the last time I talked to you guys, man. I think the last time I talked to you guys was Wednesday evening, man. It was right after we got the devastating news that Kamala Harris did not win the election, and she would not become the 47th president of the United States, and that this country decided that they wanted to have Donald Trump return to the motherfucking presidency. And so, yeah, man, it's been a week since, about a week since that time has come and gone, and we've had some time to kind of process some of the things that have happened since then. And we're gonna talk a little bit about some of that, man, because it's still fresh, man. It's still fresh for a lot of people. And I've got some more thoughts on it after about a week or so, man. I got some more thoughts on like how we've kind of done the autopsying, so to speak, of what the election and everything was and how everything came to be what it was. But of course, before we get into all of that, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit up the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave me those voicemail messages, and of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also email us here at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and of course, those emails are good right here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there throughout the week. Also, if you're using Blue Sky, I am on Blue Sky. It's MrSpann.bluesky.something. I forget exactly how they do their little shit or whatever, but it's Mr. Spann.bluesky.social. I forget, but yeah, if you're on Blue Sky, look me up. I'm there, man. But also, man, hit us up with a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify, man. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, man, if you're watching us via YouTube and or Facebook, man, leave us a comment on those videos, man. Leave those comments, and we will reply to those comments here live on the show. And leave us a 5-star review on, thumbs up on YouTube, right? We like the thumbs up, and we like the subscriptions on YouTube as well. So if you're watching us via YouTube, man, we appreciate those of you guys who would do us the favor to do that. That doesn't cost you a dime either. That shit's free too, right? But if you want to spend some money, if you want to give us some cash, man, you can go to our store, our TeePublic store. That's www.tpublic.com/the Spann Report Podcast Network. And you can go there, get yourself some merch, man. Get yourself a fly t-shirt or a hoodie, man. It's cold outside now. It's fine. Fall is finally falling on us and shit. So it's cold outside. Get yourself a nice warm hoodie with some Spann swag or whatever, man. And we got, beer and chicken stuff. We got Baywatch stuff in there. We got old Spann Report Podcast merch up in there, man. We got coffee mugs. We got stickers. We got mouse pads. We got some stuff in there, man. So we appreciate those of you who would contribute to helping us continue this financially and copy yourself some merch, man. So it's like, not only are you spending some money with us, but you're getting something in return as well. So we appreciate everybody who does that, man. Real talk. But yeah, man, we got all of the business out of the way. But we do have some listener feedback, man. We do. So some folks had something to say about what I had to say on the show, the last show, I believe. Last week, yeah, people got stuff to say, of course, because like I said, there's some very important times going on, right? So I got a couple comments here on YouTube from episode 57, the country we deserve. That was the one we just did this past Wednesday, and one of the comments we got here is from Wilchie 913 said, "Well said, good to have you back, bro. Hey man, appreciate you listening." right? All day long, man. It's always appreciate you guys listening and helping me, continue to do this thing, man. So if you guys liking the content, man, I appreciate you just doing that little solid right there. Comment and letting other folks know that you liked it as well. So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Also, we got a comment here. This is from Reggie J99. He says, I couldn't wait to hear what you had to say about this election once it was clear that Kamala Harris wasn't about to win it. If I had to quibble with anything you said, though, it would have to be your criticisms about black men and how they voted, when the data proved that black men voted right behind black women in large numbers in support of Kamala. I know you tend to get a lot of commentary about how people feel like you're some sort of self-loathing black dude. I don't get a lot of commentary like that. Wait a minute, nigga. Hold on. What you trying to say? But it's that kind of rhetoric that I think they point to when they say that about you. Not saying that's what I think, but I think that's where it comes from. Okay, so I hear you, I guess, right? But here's the thing, right? So when I was talking about the amount of black men who voted for Donald Trump this past election, and people were going on, and people still now, even now when we talk about this, there's a lot of people who say like, we owe black men an apology, and because black men voted like they were the second most reliable voting bloc for Kamala Harris behind black women, and black men needed an apology because how they were portrayed and everything else. And one of the reasons why I didn't necessarily tack on to that was because I know personally black men who voted for Donald Trump. I know women who have come forward to say, hey, man, they're dealing with a level of betrayal, a level of hurt, a level of just deep sadness that some of the men in their lives that they've helped raise, that they've, had good times with, that they've been in community with, that these men in their lives now felt comfortable to come out and say that they voted in a way that would make it hard for them. Right. So for me, it was a thing of, I don't want to dismiss that and act as though, that wasn't a thing that happened. And I think, we could talk. I know I know the anecdotal doesn't trump, the objective truth, right? I know that. I'm not adverse to that fact, but I do think at a certain point that when those women, and like shit, for even so much, not even so much just the women, but like, when I tell y'all about what my experiences are in my line of work, being a blue collar guy, working around a lot of blue collar white dudes and black dudes, and being immersed in some of these conversations that these dudes are having out here in the workplace, like understanding that, like, there's a pervasive attitude that doesn't necessarily just stop at white dudes. Some of our brothers are harboring some of these attitudes too. Now, maybe they don't carry that all the way to the ballot box, but in their outward conversation and how they present, oftentimes you wouldn't be surprised if they did come out on the other side of it. Right. And so my thing was, yes, black men were the second highest voting bloc for Kamala Harris behind black women. I just felt like, I would have hoped that black men would have made that closer, right? That black men would have made that a closer gap between them and black women, as opposed to, sliding just a little bit back the other way, right? But also, I did not want folks to feel as though they were being shut down, right? Because there was this, not even so much about, black men need an apology, but like, there were niggas I seen online, and like I said, this is all anecdotal, but there were niggas online that I would see this, so yeah, black women owe black men an apology and all this other shit as a way to shut them down about the things that they were experiencing and the things that they like, how they felt about this shit, right? So that's one of the reasons why I didn't just pile onto that. Well, black men, 83% of black men voted for Kamala Harris. And I'm like, yo, man, that still leaves about 17% of you niggas is like, made a very, very bad motherfucking decision, right? Very bad decision. And at the same time, I wanted to be clear that I am not in league with you niggas, like by no stretch of the imagination. So, for those of you who like felt the kind of way about that, hey, that's something you got to deal with amongst yourself, bro. Cause, if it didn't apply to you, I don't understand why you hurt by it. Like real talk. If you were one of the black men who did what the fuck you were supposed to do, if you were one of the black men who stood up for the community, for the sisters and the women in your life or whatever, if you did that, then by all means, bro, talk your shit, walk your walk, and be proud in that. But for you dudes who, who I'm seeing on social media right now, talking about man, it's sad that y'all would try to disown somebody because of their political beliefs and y'all disagree. And I say,
shut up. Shut the fuck up. Damn. Enough. Boy, I've been sick to my fucking stomach watching you imbeciles type things. Yeah. Stop typing. You niggas are stupid.
Like real talk. If you think that like voting against, if you think that voting, against my humanhood or anyone else's humanhood or personhood or whatever else, if you voted to make my life harder and think we still gonna be cool, fuck you. Real talk. To the dudes that did that, to the brothers that did that, especially to the brothers that did that, fuck you. That's it, man. So, if there are brothers who think that I'm a self-loathing black man because I'm actually trying to uplift my community, then that says more about them than it does about me. That's just how I feel about it. But I appreciate you guys writing in, man. That was from episode 57, right? We did have a poll on episode 57 on Spotify, and that poll said, "Did you vote for Donald Trump?" And there were two answers to this question. And the poll was, did you vote for Donald Trump? The answers were, yes, I'm a bitch, or no, I got sense. And for those of you who voted in this poll, 100% of y'all voted and said, nah, y'all got sense.
Congratulations!
Yeah, he crying because we fucking lost and shit. But yeah, man. So that's the listener feedback that we got from episode 57, man. I went back to episode 56 to see if we got anything. Nobody said anything about 56, so we're gonna keep on rolling. Man. That was the listener feedback for the last shows, right? Now, yeah, man. So here's the thing, right? Like I said, there has been a lot of talk around the idea that this entire election was about the economy, right? The economy is bad. That, price of eggs are high, man. I go to the grocery store and everything is high. This inflation is crippling and everything, right? My dollar doesn't go as far as it used to and stuff. And we alluded to a lot of this stuff on episode 57 last week, where we talked about some of the economic challenges that were facing folks, right? But one of the things I found very interesting is how a lot of folks use the economy as a reason, or at least they said it was the economy as to why they decided to vote for Donald Trump, right? Which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. It never really made sense. It was always a fallacy of an argument to me to justify a vote for Donald Trump and say it was solely about the economy. That's always been bullshit, right? Like I said last week, it was more so of a thing where like I feel like a lot of people not only just like memory hold, that Donald Trump presidency, where like it's like they totally forgot that Donald Trump was president when we had the COVID pandemic and how he totally botched and mishandled that shit. But also they act as though they forgot that the economy was actually pretty good when Donald Trump came into the presidency, that Obama left him with a pretty good goddamn economy considering what he was left when he came in when we were dealing with the mortgage crisis, the fucking automakers were being bailed out and everything else. We actually rebounded pretty goddamn good after that Obama presidency. And so when Donald Trump came in as president, he inherited a good economy. So he just had to coast. He was coasting on 3 years of Obama's pretty damn good economy. Right now, he would say that like he did, he spurred the economy with tax cuts and shit like that. But the tax cuts went to the upper 1%. Many of us didn't get those tax cuts as much as people were like lying to themselves and saying that they weren't getting these motherfucking tax cuts. And the reason why I know you wasn't getting these tax cuts, I had this, I was thinking about, I was having a bit of a back and forth with this guy on Threads. And he came out as a Trump supporter. He was someone I was following on Threads, and I was like, yeah, see, this is where we part ways. And he hit me with one of those, it's a shame that, you would leave, a budding friendship. I'm like, nigga, we wasn't friends. I thought you were saying some interesting podcasting and stuff. I didn't think that I never was under the illusion that we were friends, nigga. Like, come on, let's not throw this on thick. But, no, man. So he came out as a Trump supporter and stuff, and he started talking about all of the reasons why he was a Trump supporter. He said that Biden raised his taxes, and Kamala Harris doesn't have any real plans for businesses and all this other shit. And I like one of the things that was interesting to me was that like a lot of folks tend to think that Joe Biden raised their taxes, right? And it was like, nah. What you don't understand is that you're still under the tax code that Donald Trump had when he cut those taxes for the rich back in 2017, right? Those tax cuts are still in effect right now. What the Biden administration was going to do was allow for those tax cuts, or the Biden-Harris administration or the Harris administration going forward, they were going to allow for those tax cuts to expire. They were not going to renew those tax cuts. So, those who were making $400,000 or more, we're going to see their taxes go up, right? Many of us ain't making $400,000. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of us are not making $400,000 a year. If you're making less than $400,000 a year, your taxes did not go up. But that did not stop perceptions, though. And we've already talked about perceptions and how perception can be reality for a lot of folks. And like even when you start talking about the attitude that folks have towards migrants, if you thought that migrants were getting something that you thought you deserved and that they were getting it, somehow that also played into the attitudes that people had about about immigration and everything else. They're giving these migrants all this money. What about me? They treating the migrants, or better yet, I'm living in this country and they treating the migrants like the citizens, and I'm being treated like a migrant. This is something that I heard just today while in line at fucking Popeyes, yo. I'm in line at Popeyes. I'm trying to get some chicken while I'm on lunch and shit at work. And I'm listening to two niggas behind me talk about how they voted for Donald Trump. And this is, again, two black men behind me at Popeyes talking about how they voted for Donald Trump. And I'm listening to them talk about migrants and stuff and how the migrants are getting all this assistance. Meanwhile, these citizens weren't getting the assistance. I'm like, nigga, you live in Detroit. You live in Highland Park. We ain't got no fucking migrants here, nigga. What are you talking about? Nigga! You talking about some shit that don't even concern you right now, right? And on top of that, again, that's what we were talking about that, like, I want to say maybe it was like 2 months ago, like that viral story about the food stamps and $15,000 and a lady at the grocery store and it was this migrant had all his money. It's like those types of stories go out to make people feel a certain way, to demonize another marginalized group. And then when you feel like this marginalized group is getting something that you feel like you deserve, now you're hating this marginalized group, right? And they drove that wedge, right? Republicans were very successful in driving that wedge between one marginalized group against another marginalized group. Meanwhile, they get exactly what the fuck they want, right? So, you got that going on, man. But one of the things that I like that crystallized for me every time I would hear people talk about the economy, and I'm hearing they talk about white people and how white people voted for the economy. It was about money. It was about inflation and all this shit, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, especially when they talk about the white working class. And here's the thing: for all of the shit that these political pundits talk about, identity politics and shit, it's funny how identity politics never applies to white people, right? It never applies to white people. When we're talking about identity politics, we're talking about the LGBTQ community. We're talking about the black community. We're talking about the Hispanic community. We're talking about immigrants of all different shapes, forms, and fashions, right? We're talking about everybody except white folks. White folks are just the default, right? We never, and even when they start talking about NASCAR dads, which are usually older white men, or soccer moms is usually suburban white women, they don't call that identity politics. They just call that they just never call that identity politics. It's only identity politics when it applies to a marginalized group for whatever the fuck reason, right? But as we talk about the white working class, let me tell you something, man. Like, they talked about how the white working class were feeling like they were being left behind, that the Biden administration didn't speak to them, that the Harris campaign didn't speak to the blue collar workers enough. And therefore they had to go to Donald Trump because they felt like they were being betrayed by the Democratic Party. And Bernie Sanders bitch ass went out here and said some of the same stupid shit, right? Bernie Sanders is still on the same stupid shit he was back in 2016. Let's make no mistake about this shit. Same stupid shit. But they're talking all this shit about the white working class not getting catered to, not being spoken to, not being campaigned to. And they forgot that, like, yo, Joe Biden actually fucking walked picket lines with the UAW back here in Michigan when there were strikes going on at the auto plants. They forgot all about that. The Teamsters Union got their fucking pensions restored, shit. What the fuck happened with their pensions? They were some troubles with their pensions, and the Biden administration helped shore that up for them, right? And the Teamsters Union pays the Biden-Harris administration back with no goddamn endorsement. This has been the most pro-union presidency in history, right? Now, I say all that to say, because I know like 90% of the American populace isn't unionized anymore. That's another thing that Republicans have been able to like kind of gut out of the working class, is that they've been able to alienate workers from worker unions that would advocate for them on their behalf, right? And they play it off like this. So like even here in Michigan at one point when we had a Republican governor and Republican legislature, they had turned Michigan into a right to work state. And when Michigan was a right to work state, they essentially turned what right to work meant was this: you could go and work in a place where they typically have a union. It could be a union shop. You do not have to join that union, but that union has to represent you when it comes to like any disciplinary actions or if it comes to like trying to save your job. You get all of the benefits of being a part of the union. Everything that the union had negotiated for its members, you get to be a part of that. But you don't have to pay the union a goddamn thing.
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
So you don't have to pay the union nothing. So the union dues that most of the members would pay, which would go towards administrative costs that the union has, but also for political action committees, or anytime the union would try to advocate for workers when it came to lobbying, politicians or anything else. That money largely came from the membership. But if you got a large group of folks who decide, hey, I'm in this union and I'm working in this union shop where they negotiated my wages and they negotiated my benefits, but I don't want to pay these people for this. And now I'm taking all of the shit that the union got from me, but I'm not putting back into this union that guts the union's ability to fight for me going forward. Right? Republicans did that here in Michigan. It wasn't until we got the legislature flipped here in Michigan, where we got the Democratic governor and the Democratic House of Representatives and the Democratic Senate, where we were able to repeal right to work here in Michigan, right? But if you go down south, if you like a lot of auto plants, like a lot of foreign auto plants, like Kia that has a plant down in Georgia, like Mercedes-Benz that has a plant, I believe, down in Alabama. I believe Lexus also has a plant down in Alabama. Texas has Toyota down there, right? So you got these foreign automakers who are making their vehicles here now, but they're making their vehicles in places that are anti-union. Right. And so when they make these cars in places that are anti-union, those workers are getting paid less than the workers who are in the union. Right. I remember when I was like a contract utility worker, I was doing the same work that the union guys were doing. I was getting paid $4 an hour less to do the exact same work. And my workload was more than theirs was. Because the union had negotiated for them to have a certain compensation package and to have a certain level of work. But so when you don't have a union advocating for you, oftentimes the companies take advantage of that. And yeah, they'll pay you for nothing if they were allowed to. And the only reason why they would pay you somewhat of a competitive wage is because unions exist in the first fucking place. Right? So all of this to say, when I'm hearing this talk about the white working class, I'm going to bring this back to some anecdotal shit, but I think it applies. When we start talking about this white working class, listen, man, I've been very fortunate. I have a union job. I've had this union job for 16 years. I work with a bunch of blue collar, white dudes, black dudes, Hispanic dudes, Arab dudes. I work with the gamut, right? We have health benefits, we got vision, we've got dental, I've got a pension, I've got a 401k. I make 6 figures a year on a job that doesn't require a college degree. Been very fucking fortunate. I bought my house during the pandemic. Very fortunate. I'm able to drive a late model car. My wife is able to drive a late model car because of the amount of what my compensation is at the job. Now, I work hard for my shit. I got the calluses on my hands and the body aches to prove it. But I've been very fortunate to have what I have. And I say that to say, I'm listening to these white working class guys at my job going to get custom made $80,000 pickup trucks, whether it be a Dodge Ram or a Chevy Silverado or a GMC Sierra or a Ford F-150. I'm watching these dudes complain about, hey man, these eggs cost a grip. Why they pull off in that F-150? Oh, and not to mention, a few of them are getting houses built from the motherfucking ground up.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Like, this is what's happening, right? These people were not voting against the shit economy. I don't know many people who were able to buy $80,000 trucks, pickup trucks, custom made pickup trucks, and the economy is shit. I don't know many people who were able to go and get $400,000 houses built from the ground up, and the economy is shit. They weren't voting against the economy. They were voting for whiteness. And I'm sick and tired of listening to pundits and white people get on TV, get on social media, and talk about it was the fucking economy when the economy in America is the greatest in the world right now as we speak. You're not going to be able to move it, like color my fucking eyes, bro, under the assumption that it's the economy. No, it's not the fucking economy. It is whiteness. They were voting for whiteness, period. That's what it was. Kamala Harris ran a damn good campaign. Kamala Harris didn't actually use her blackness or her Indian heritage as a crutch at all for her campaign. She never spoke about it much. As a matter of fact, much of the conversation around her cultural identity was happening around outside of her campaign. She wasn't highlighting that. Everyone else was. But she did talk about how she was going to help people get $25,000 for their first home. She did talk about how she was going to give $6,000 to $6,000 tax credit for new parents to help them get, resources for this new baby that they have coming into the family. She did talk about how she was going to have tax incentives for people to start up new businesses. So when I hear people talk about it was the economy and she didn't speak to our economic interests, like, that's bullshit. Especially when you consider what the alternative was. Especially that. So at a certain point, you could look back, say for let's go back. Because like I said, people are romanticizing shit now. But we could go back and we could look at 2016 when Donald Trump became president. And, people were a bit dejected that Donald Trump became president at that time. But, we went through that 4 years. Terrible 4 years, especially because, although again, people memory hold shit, they are romanticizing shit, but not even just, COVID, but you think about, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Mike Brown, George Floyd. You think about all the things that happened around that time. Colin Kaepernick and how he responded to Colin Kaepernick and how he politicized the NFL in such a way where even watching a game or like even watching a football game became a marker of whether or not you were, politically astute or not. Like how, hey, we boycotting these games. And it was funny because the people were boycotting on both ends. You had white folks who was boycotting because they didn't appreciate these black players going out there and protesting black for black lives. And then you got black people like, man, they're not respecting us and I ain't watching the games either. And a lot of folks still haven't came back to the games. I watched the games because I like football, right? And my Lions are doing good, man. Sorry, but my Lions are doing good. But no, man, people romanticize this shit, right? And so, one of the things about going back to 2016 is that we saw what this shit was in 2016, 2017, 18, 19. We saw what it was when Donald Trump was the president, man. And we saw the chaos that ensued when he became president. We saw how he, everything that came with him. And the reason why so many people were 80 million people got up and galvanized and voted against this motherfucker to get him about the paint, right? 80 million people said, nah, man, you got to fucking go. That's how bad shit had gotten. Now, it's interesting that as bad as shit was, you cannot tell me with a straight face that things are worse now than they were 4 years ago. And if you can,
who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
Gotta stay away from your stupid ass because I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Objectively, as a country, shit is a hell of a lot better now than it was 4 years ago. If we're being honest with our fucking selves. And after having looked at 4 years of having had that guy as president, and then another 2 years of watching this dude run for president, and the only reason he really ran for president was so that he could stay out of jail. This is the shit that's tripped out. He announced so fucking early that he was running for president because he knew that charges was coming for him. And he can get in front of it. If he can get in front of it, he would say, hey, I'm running for president, and this is why these charges are coming. They're politicizing the justice system. And so now that they're politicizing the justice system, all of these cases are illegitimate against me. It's election interference. That's why he announced so fucking early. So we've been watching this dude. He was president for 4 years. He's essentially been running for president for another 3 years. Right? So for 7 years, we've seen all of the chaos that this motherfucker has brought about. And white folks looked at that shit and said, yeah, I think I want a little bit more of that. They want a little bit more of that. You cannot tell me that judging from what the alternative was, Kamala Harris, who's an accomplished woman, she was a state attorney general, she was a district attorney, she was the vice president of the United States. Folks were saying at first, hey, we don't really know who she is, but you know who the fuck he was? We know who the fuck he was. We knew what the alternative was. And yet America chose that as opposed to this accomplished black woman, right? But one thing you will never convince me of was that this was about the economy. That's bullshit. Because black people are part of the economy too. Black people care about the economy. Black people are part of the working class. You mean to tell me, like, if you're talking about it was the goddamn economy and the economy was so bad that, like, black people just don't care? Usually when the economy's fucked up, black people are really fucked up. And black people voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. So make it make sense, dog. Make it make sense. This was about whiteness. Whiteness and white supremacy. Bottom line, man. Even when it comes to the Hispanic vote, right? Now, I am I am one of those folks who was under the impression that there was like a somewhat of a coalition, that a lot of the marginalized groups would come together after having dealt with the 4 years that we had under Donald Trump, that we saw the madness that ensued with that. We saw all of we saw the shitty fucking campaign he was running. We saw how many people he was offending during that campaign. We saw the outrageous things that Donald Trump was saying. We saw some of the, we lived under some of the outrageous policies that he had implemented when he was president. But for whatever reason, many people in the Hispanic community, the majority of Hispanic men, voted for Donald Trump.
What the fuck, y'all? God damn! God damn! God damn!
What?
Fuck!
So I'm going to show you a couple videos that like I think kind of crystallizes why one would have that sort of reaction to, Hispanic voters voting for Donald Trump, right? So I'm gonna pull this first video up. I'm getting this here from Threads, and this is a clip from CNN where they're talking to Hispanic voters in Miami who voted for Donald Trump. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me here. And can I expand this? Yeah, I can expand that. And let's see what they're talking about. Check this out, y'all.
My whole family is immigrants, so you would think, hey, I'm pro-immigrant. Myself, I'm Cuban. My whole family is immigrants, so you would think, hey, I'm pro-immigrant. He can offend Cubans tomorrow and I wouldn't care, as long as my life is better and my peers are enjoying their life as well.
What I would like to see is more jobs come up here, less war, a backbone for America, a better immigration policy. My father came here, got us all citizenships from overseas. He had 4 children. He brought us into all those things to give us a better future. Things are haywire. Let's see what we could get done in this go around with Trump.
I know tons of people that just came from Cuba 20 years ago, doctors, and they've done their American dream. They've done their due process.
I wanted to see Trump back in the White House. And I think people who come here legally, or people who are here and see what is going on with the immigration and how they're giving thousands and thousands of dollars for these people who are coming here, money that they could be spending on the problems that we have in our country.
I myself am Cuban. My whole family is immigrants.
Okay, so I'm gonna let that, for you guys who are watching, I'm just gonna let that loop in the background silently, right? But most everyone in this video here, they're in Miami, they're Cuban. There are a lot of Cuban Americans. There are a lot of Cuban Americans who, once they get here, they identify themselves as white. And everyone in this video, they're pretty fair-skinned Cubans. They seem to, based on what some of the things that they're saying here, at least to me, they seem to be like one of, like a bunch of these white presenting, white associating Cubans, right? Now, one of the things that I think is very interesting is that, like, you heard a couple of these folks say, my father came here and he got 4 people, he got his 4 kids here, and he was able to get us all citizenship. And what they don't tell you is that, like, back in the 1980s, that Ronald Reagan actually gave a lot of them immunity for the illegal immigration and allow for them to become United States citizens. And for the life of me, I'm trying to reconcile. I want to know how, how a Cuban or any immigrant comes over here, thinks that, oh, well, I did it the right way, or I was able to get over here, and now my status is good, but then turn back around and say that, like, yo, I don't want that for anybody else that looks like me, or that shares the same heritage as me, right? It's like it's almost like it's like Clarence Thomas ascending to the Supreme Court on the backs of affirmative action, and then, like, yo, also being instrumental in the destruction of affirmative action, so that no one else can use the same ladder that he got to the halls of power that he has attained, right? But like that first lady that was on this video, where she talked about, like, yeah, he talked shit about Cubans, but shit, my family cool, so fuck it. That's a real crass way to look at shit. It's a real myopic way to look at shit. But also, it's one of those delusional ways to look at shit, right? Because every last one of the people in this video, and this one in particular, they think they're one of the good ones. I'm one of the good ones. They not coming after me. They are coming after the other ones. He talking about the other ones, right? He ain't talking about me. And so I got another video that I want to show you guys, because there was another family that went on MSNBC, and they decided that they wanted to talk about their reasoning for voting for Donald Trump. I think the father voted for Kamala Harris, but when he found out that Donald Trump was being elected president of the United States, he was not upset. He was not fucking upset. He was actually kind of happy about it. So I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch this right along with your boy as well. Let me do this here, and wait a second. I ain't got it fired up yet. Damn, Spann, you're doing too much. All right. So, yeah, let me pull this up so you guys can watch with me. Here we go. Just bam, bam, bam. Let's see what they talk about.
A sharp swing among Latino voters toward Mr. Trump was critical to the now president-elect's win. And the number one issue driving that shift, the economy, according to exit polls.
It was not the fucking economy. I'm telling you right now, it is not the fucking economy. It is whiteness and the access to whiteness and the aspiration of whiteness. It was not the fucking economy.
NBC's David Noriega spoke with a family in Battleground, Nevada, about why Latino voters shifted so significantly toward Mr. Trump and why his victory is giving them hope for a better future.
No, not right now. Mario and Mireya Alvarez found the American dream in Las Vegas.
Would you like some coffee?
They came to the U.S. from Mexico and Guatemala in the 80s. With his job in a supermarket and her job in a casino, they bought a house and raised 3 children. Now they wonder if their kids and grandkids will inherit that dream. Is it still possible to do that for the younger generation?
That's my main concern right now. What's going to happen to our new generation? Nowadays, they're not even able to move out of their houses anymore because everything is so expensive.
Life wasn't expensive as it is right now.
Okay. Now, even with that, right, with the ability of people to go out in here and buy homes, what they don't understand is that their vote for Donald Trump allows for a lot of these private equity firms, not even private equity, a lot of these venture capitalist firms, venture capitalists, to go out here and buy up a large amount of the stock of homes that are available and not allow for those folk, or not allow for people to buy those homes. Or they can't afford these homes because, hey, the venture capitalists got all the fucking money. And the person who's willing to sell, they selling for the most amount of money. The venture capitalist has the most amount of money to give to you. You selling it to them. Now, when the venture capitalist gets a hold of this house, they're not going to sell that house. They're going to rent that house. And that's how the rents keep going up, because the market for affordable housing and people being able to buy those houses, because the stock is low, it blooms how much rents go up. Kamala Harris is talking about building 3 million new houses. That would have allowed, that would have boomed out the amount of available stock of homes for other folks to buy. And it would have kind of compressed on these venture capitalists out here trying to buy up all of the stock to keep regular folks from being able to go out here and buy homes at reasonable rates. But y'all voted against that. Y'all voted against that.
First PlayStation.
We first met Mario back in February when he was seriously considering a vote for Donald Trump. He was undecided with previous votes for George W. Bush, Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Biden. At the last minute, he broke for Kamala Harris. But today, he's not upset about the results.
I'm kind of like more happy than upset. Why? Because Donald Trump is going to help the country with the economy.
The whole household is happy. Mireya and their 29-year-old son, Mario Jr., did vote for Trump.
Initially, I will say I did not agree with him. And then I started seeing that he was not afraid to speak his mind. And I noticed that he was not scared to say what he felt, regardless of what people would say. And I think I
it wasn't the policy. He just said what he felt.
Respect that about him.
So you liked his kind of brashness, his personality?
Yeah, I would say yes.
They're not.
His goofy ass voted on vibes, man. Fucking vibes. Vibes.
Makes me sick, motherfucker, how far we done fell.
Alone. Across the country, Donald Trump made huge inroads with Latino voters. According to NBC exit polls, 55% of Latino men nationwide voted for Trump, a 19-point jump from 2020. Among Latina women like Mireya, an 8-point gain. And while Vice President Harris won a slight majority of the Latino vote overall, Trump increased his support 14 points from the last election. The top issue among Latino voters, like it is for the Alvarez family, the economy, with immigration a distant fourth. Mario and Mireya both crossed the border illegally as teenagers, but became citizens under President...
Wait. Let me play that back. Let me pay that back. Hold up. He said what now? They did what now? They did what now? Hold up. They did what now?
But became citizens under President Ronald Reagan's amnesty.
Wait.
Border illegally as teenagers.
They did what?
But became citizens. Immigration a distant fourth. Mario and Mireya both crossed the border illegally as teenagers, but became citizens under President Ronald Reagan's amnesty.
They became citizens under Ronald Reagan's amnesty, but they came here fucking illegally. They came here illegally. They got their citizenship through amnesty from the Ronald Reagan administration. Meanwhile, like here's the other part. Here's the other part I think is very rich. Republicans always talk about, like, even when Obama came out with the DACA program and said that we need to give these folk these illegal immigrants, these undocumented immigrants, a path to citizenship. Republicans, as much as they tout and revere and hold up Ronald Reagan as a patron saint, much the same way that they talk about themselves being Christian, I'm gonna tell you this right now: neither Jesus nor Ronald Reagan neither one of them will be welcome in today's Republican Party. They just would not be.
Oh man, hey.
These people came here illegally and got status through Ronald Reagan as citizens through amnesty. And like, we're gonna hear some real fishy shit about how they feel about immigration now. It's kind of crazy.
They see themselves as different from migrants crossing the border today. In what way do you think they're different?
The people that are coming here are the criminals, you know?
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? The people that are coming here are the criminals. They the criminals. Bitch, you was a criminal. Judging based on what you did when you came here, you did an illegal thing, maybe. Baby, you were a criminal. How are you sitting here so smug? Now that you have what you think makes you safe. Now they're criminals. And you're the good one. When Donald Trump gets on the stump and he's talking shit about Hispanics and an invasion at the border, he ain't talking about you because you've been here a while. But everybody coming behind you, them the bad ones. They're all criminals, but not me though. Even though I did a criminal act coming over here, they're all criminals. He ain't talking about me. Reminds me of that old Chris Rock joke. We talking about women and listening to hip hop and shit. and some of the bad shit that you would hear and like how misogynistic hip hop was, you're like, yo, smack her with the dick, smack her with the dick. You're like, how can you listen to this shit? And they be like, well, shit, he ain't talking about me. That's how a lot of these motherfuckers feel about this shit. He ain't talking about me. Oh yes, baby, he talking about your ass too. He talking about you too. Ooh wee.
The ones that did something bad in their country, they're running away from their law.
Despite having close family members.
I wish the follow-up to this, when she said that, I wish he would have asked her, so what were you running away from? Right? These people are running away from something. She's saying they're running away from like response, or accountability from some criminal acts and everything else, because she's calling everybody who's coming across the border now criminals. She's bought into the Trump line, hook, line, and sinker, that all of these folks are coming over are criminals. What were you running from? You were coming here for a better life, right? That's what you would tell everybody. You were coming here for a better life. But somehow it can't be the same for them. That's wild. It's fucking wild, bro.
Members who are undocumented.
Migrant invasion.
They don't believe they'll end up in Trump's crosshairs. When you hear Trump promise mass deportations, do you worry about them?
Yes and no. Because the ones that I know, they're doing good. They're not breaking any laws.
I believe he's going to start deporting all the bad people.
Trump won over the Alvarez family and many like them.
He going to start deporting y'all asses too. Y'all just don't know it yet.
Whether the economy improves and who exactly he chooses to deport may determine if he keeps them.
My family is Latino, and a lot of them are immigrants. But at the end of the day, we're American.
And joining me now from Las Vegas is NBC's David Noriega.
Yeah, and so like here's the other part that I think is tripped out, right? So they got on television and they talked this shit. That was very brave. Very brave of y'all to get on television and try to separate yourselves and think that y'all were going to be made special in any sort of roundup, whatever, however that may be, when the Trump administration actually comes into power, right? Now, one of the things I think is very interesting is that, what the person who was responsible for the child separation policy during the Trump administration's first go round was Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller has just been named the deputy chief of staff in the new Trump administration. Also, some of the people who have been naturalized as citizens of the United States, the upcoming Trump administration is not only going for trying to deport undocumented folk, but also they're trying to denaturalize people. So even some of the people who have been able to gain citizenship are under threat of having their citizenship revoked and also being deported. So again, like when I'm listening to them talk about how they think that they're different, how they think that somehow Donald Trump doesn't mean he's talking to them, how they are okay with him talking shit about other people because my family is okay. It's like, were you fucking paying attention to anything at all for the last 9 years? It's been 9 years, man. 9 years, something like that. Yeah, it's been a long fucking time with Donald Trump being in presidential politics. It's been a long fucking time we've been dealing with this bullshit. We were actually hoping, many of us who voted for Kamala Harris and wanted Kamala Harris to win, we were actually hoping that by Kamala Harris winning, that at least at this particular juncture, we could be done with this motherfucker. He could be held accountable for the shit that he did. And now we although it is never gonna stop, we're always gonna be fighting, but we've gotten rid of this shit, right? This part is over. And for whatever reason, even marginalized groups found themselves looking down on further marginalized people as if they were the fucking problem and enabled this orange menace to come back and become president of the United States, man. And honestly, it's just
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
Yo, we got some comments here in the chat. I'm sorry, man. I've been cooking here tonight, but let me go ahead and pull up some of these comments that we got here, man. My man Rick Rude is in the comments. He says, most of these troglodytes don't do facts; they do vibes and conspiracy bullshit. Hey, when I was on the mic last week, man, I was talking about how much misinformation and disinformation is flooding the zone when it comes to our social media feeds and how much of that shit people are consuming, to when we do get on, like when I do get on this microphone and I talk what I talk, and when I hear other podcasters that I love and respect get on the microphones and they do talk what they talk, oftentimes, man, it's not a lot of, by the time we get out here and we talk our shit, man, the lie has already done ran around the block 10 or 15 times, man, because it's not enough of us to combat the bots and the bullshit. And also we underestimate just how little people really know. Right? We assume, and I think this is a problem that a lot of us have. We assume that people know certain things, and oftentimes they don't. And that's why they're so susceptible to misinformation and disinformation. Right? How many times have you seen like people talking about all these rumors around Diddy on your social media feeds the last few months? Right? And whatever it had, like whether it was a true story or not, people would like running with whatever it was with Diddy. Jaguar Wright all over the fucking place. Right? Beginning of this year, Cat Williams, as much as that Cat Williams interview might have been entertaining, Cat Williams out here talking some bullshit too. That nigga was clearly lying on a lot of shit, right? But that didn't stop people from saying, they ain't say he lying, no, ain't nobody sued him. It was like, misinformation and disinformation goes, bro. It goes. And so when you actually trying to inform people of some real shit, oftentimes, man, people get offended that you're trying to inform them because they feel like they do know. And now you're trying to make them feel stupid because they don't know, or you think you know everything. No, nigga, it's not that I know everything, but on this particular thing, I'm a little bit learned, and sometimes I would go to a more reputable source than just some shit I saw on Instagram and just leave it at that. Especially when I get on this microphone, I don't want to just get on this microphone and just be talking some shit and it just came from some unscrupulous fucking source. I tell y'all sometimes when I'm reading from a source I ain't really sure, I'm like, hey man, take this shit with a grain of salt, but this is what they're talking about, right? And I'm not a journalist, but I do feel a sense of responsibility when I get on this mic to like, yo, know what the fuck it is I'm talking about. Some folks just don't have that. They don't have that. For whatever it is. And oftentimes, man, like I think because the lies pay, oftentimes the truth doesn't. So if you're gonna go where you're trying to make the bread, hey man, our traffic in this bullshit is good. It's like people rationalize a lot of shit because they're getting paid, right? People put up with a lot of shit if you pay them enough. Trust me. I know, right? It's times where I'll be looking at, hey, man, I'm at the job and I'm like, hey, y'all gonna need to do something. Y'all gonna have to like pay me a little bit more on this one, man, because I'm not going in that basement. You see what the fuck is going on in that basement? I ain't going in there, man. Like y'all, hey, Soup, listen, you might want to throw a couple more hours overtime on my check this week, man, because look at that shit. You don't want to go in there. I don't want to be in there, right? We'll justify by how much we get paid. So you got that going on, man. Reggie T is in the chat room. He says they're going to be in for a rude awakening when he doesn't give a fuck that you came in. The legal. Listen, man. God damn. Or better yet, when some of them, especially the old girl that was talking about, I don't give a fuck what he talking about when it comes to them. My family, okay. If some shit happens to her people, I'm going to just say.
I'm supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
I'm not. And like not only just me, like that was one of the prevailing thoughts that I saw a lot of sisters, I saw a lot of sisters out here expressing this, right? Especially on threads, man. The sisters are fed the fuck up. The sisters are fed the fuck up, and they're like, hey, man, don't call us for shit. We are done. White women was out here talking about some blue bracelets, and we gonna show that we are allies with our blue bracelets. And the sisters like, man, fuck you and your blue bracelet. I don't give a fuck. This is about you feeling good about you. This is about you feeling good about you. I don't give a fuck about your blue bracelet. Fuck your blue bracelet. If you wanted to show you was an ally, you'd have talked to your goddamn cousin. You'd have talked to your goddamn sister. You'd have talked to your fucking mama and your aunt, and you'd have got their asses to vote the proper way. But you didn't. So fuck y'all. The sisters are fed the fuck up. Right? So in much the same way, I'm kind of like, nah, y'all got it. Y'all got it. Y'all have decided that this thing that we got going on, this alleged coalition that we supposedly got going on, where black people are really out here on the front lines fighting for every fucking body, advocating for every fucking body. Y'all got it. This is how if this is how this is going to play out, like white women been out here talking about, hey man, remember that pussy march? I'm sorry, not the pussy march. Let me rephrase that. The women's march, where they wore the pussy hats at the women's march. And I think back to that sister that had that sign like, yo, just so y'all know, y'all remember 53% of these white women voted for Donald Trump. While they was out there marching and all this other shit, and they was talking about the resistance and everything else. The Supreme Court was on the fucking line again. Now we're going to get two brand new, young ass conservative ideologues on that Supreme Court. I'm guaranteeing you that Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas say, you know what? It's time for us to go ahead and retire, bruh. They got it now, man. We can go ahead and retire. So now it's going to be Donald Trump appointing five fucking Supreme Court justices. Guaranteed, bruh. Guaranteed. So I'm with the sisters when they like, yeah, man, nah, y'all got it. We like whatever happens to you in your community. I mean, it's gonna be fucked up, and that is. But this is what y'all wanted, though. This is what y'all voted for, and no one's gonna, it's gonna be fucked up. It is. But you've exhausted the amount of advocacy, especially like from black people. You've exhausted their advocacy. You've exhausted their activism. You've exhausted, like, black women especially have been on the front lines of a lot of shit. When it came to the Black Lives Matter movement, even. And I remember going back, shit. What was this, 2015 or something like that? I remember when, even back when I was doing shit like the Art of Disagreement with me and Mr. Gates and shit like that, where me and him were going back and forth about Black Lives Matter and and the viability of the movement and everything. And even back then, there were black women, black queer women who were leading that movement, and how they were facing pushback within the community from black men who were saying, who were upset that they weren't at the forefront of it. And it was like, yo, bro, like, hold up. How you mad that someone is advocating for you, right? And now we're here in a different way, where black women have been advocating for the undocumented. Black women have been advocating for the war in Gaza. Black women have been advocating for LGBTQ rights. Black women have been advocating for Black Lives Matter and everything else. Black women have been on the forefront of all this shit, and they feel betrayed. And like, real talk, when I get on this mic, if y'all listen to me for any length of time, man, like, I've spoken to a lot of these different movements and advocacy groups. I've spoken to all of them as well, in support of most of them. And then to hear and listen to some of these folks as if none of that shit mattered to them, and fuck us, and like, yo, we gonna be all right because he wasn't talking about me. All right, y'all got it. Y'all got it. That's what it is. That's what it is, man. So it's gonna be a fucked up 4 years, but it's gonna be a very interesting 4 years at the least. At the least, right? We got another comment here. GS28 comes in. He says, "Let me be clear. I do not care what actually happens to them, legal immigrants or otherwise. They put this man back in power." I don't know what the fuck's going on with the graphics. They put this man back in power. Let them deal with the consequences. Exactly, bro. I think that's where a lot of, especially black folks, I think that's where a lot of black folks are right now. Let them deal with the consequences of what they ask, like what they voted for, right? This is what y'all like. This is what y'all wanted. America is about to get the country that they voted for. We're about to get the country that we deserve because we allowed for this shit to happen. Now, when I say we allow for this shit to happen, I'm speaking to the people who voted for Donald Trump, but also the people who decided to stay their punk asses at home because fuck y'all.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Like straight up. Because 15 million people decided to stay their asses at home. That also plays a role. Donald Trump didn't get more voters. He got around the same amount of voters he got the last time. 15 million people on this side of the aisle decided to stay their asses at home. Now, we've always talked about, especially here on this show, that, how paramount your right to vote and using your vote to express your to make your voice heard, what that means and how important that was, and why you've never heard white people be told not to vote for nobody. It's always something that has been advocated towards us. Like, hey man, why are we voting for the lesser of two evils, man? What about the Green Party? Hey man, have you seen the Green Party doing anything in the last 4 years, bro? Did Jill Stein ever come up with that fucking money or tell y'all what she did with that money for those recounts that she was supposed to have been doing back in 2016? Why does she keep popping up every 4 years like a fucking leprechaun and shit with a new goddamn running mate, bruh? There's a reason why the third party shit hasn't become viable, because the third parties haven't felt like they had to do the fucking work. So even if you do want to vote third party, you're throwing your fucking vote away because the fucking third party only feels like, hey, we gonna show up for president. All that other shit we don't really want. Senators, why? City council, why? They don't even want to develop a bench, nigga. So when you look at what's going on with the third parties and shit, it's like, hey man, there's a reason why this is a two-party system at the moment, because the third parties have not shown themselves to be serious about actually building themselves up from a grassroots way, in a very substantial way. They haven't shown it. They haven't shown any motherfucking effort towards that whatsoever. We see these motherfuckers every fucking 4 years, and then they disappear and then they pop up again. This is how it rolls. So yeah, man. Yeah, they're going to deal with the consequences. There's going to be a lot of folks dealing with consequences. Some of us are going to be dealing with consequences that we damn sure didn't ask for because we obviously voted another way, right? GS also says this has always been about the dispossession of whites in the U.S. The number one threat to that is Latino. The whites, weren't going to stand by and let that happen. This is where you are absolutely correct, my brother. You are absolutely correct. We all know that there has been like I want to say it was around 2035 or 2045 that America was slated to become a majority minority country where white people would no longer be the majority in this country, right? Now, we've talked about this here on the show for a little while. This is why the abortion laws are changing in ways in which they are, right? They want women to not be able to abort these children because white people, white men in particular, are feeling like they're going to be genetically wiped out, right? So we don't want these women to be able to abort these babies. We want to force these women to have these babies because we need to have these kids, because our lineage is being wiped out by immigration from Latin America and black people and Asian folks coming over from across the pond. This melting pot is also kind of diluting our blood and our heritage, and so we want to make sure that we have to limit that in some way. So not only is the abortion laws that they're trying to push through a way to try to keep white people as a majority in this country for a little bit longer, because I think they just try to delay they're trying to delay the inevitable, to try to keep them in power just a little bit longer as the majority. But also, it's not just the abortion laws, but it's the immigration laws as well. And then on top of that, even when we talk about Donald Trump winning this election and actually getting the popular vote for the first time, like I said, it's not even so much about him actually getting more votes. It's just that more people on our side opted not to vote at all. Is that I will still contend that most of the policies that the Republican Party tries to put forth are very unpopular with most of the American electorate. Even most of the people who are Hispanic or whatever, who decided that they were going to vote for Donald Trump, they think that those policies doesn't apply to them. But they're still unpopular. They're unpopular if they figured out that this shit apply to them, it would be very motherfucking unpopular. They think it's going to hurt someone else. Right? The cruelty is the point. Because they think it's going to be meted out against somebody else, not them. And it's going to be a very different tune that a lot of people are going to have when these sorts of policies starts hitting them in the motherfucking mouth, bruh. But this has been mostly about preserving whiteness in America. White supremacy has been the through line through all of this shit. The immigration policy, the abortion policy, they are trying to extend the amount of time that white people are the majority here in America. This is even why Stephen Miller would like to denaturalize a lot of those Latin American people who came here and got citizenship. They would like to denaturalize them and ship their asses back to where they came from, because they want whiteness to be the default in America. That is the goal. That is all this shit is about, preserving whiteness. It is clear as day. They have been saying this shit in front of everybody. It's clear as day, man. But we got one more comment here. It says, I love trolling the white dudes at my job by telling them that they'll be the minorities by 2050. Yeah. You was trolling their ass and they were like, yeah, we got something for you, buddy. Shit. Your name's Rick. You look like your name. Are you Ricky Ricardo, buddy? Are you Ricky Ricardo? We're going to send your ass back to where the fuck you came from. You be like, hey, man, I'm from the Bronx, man. I don't know. Where the fuck you want me to go? Where the fuck you want me to go? I mean, I'm from the Bronx. I don't know what the fuck y'all talking about, man. I was born here. I'm a citizen for real. I'm not even what they would call an anchor baby. I'm not even that, nigga. I got 3 generations of my people are here, nigga. What the fuck are you talking about? Right? But that's essentially what this has been, man. This has been an exercise in white supremacy from the bottom fucking up. And unfortunately, there have been unfortunately, there have been people from marginalized groups who thought that they would be exempt from this, and they will not be. They will not be. That is a sad reality that a lot of these folks are going to come into. Like they're going to come into this reality, and it's going to hurt them so fucking much. And it's going to be they're going to look to a lot of the activists, a lot of the black activists who had been advocating for them and things of that nature, and those same black activists are going to tell them, "Nah, man, y'all got it. Y'all got it." Right? So yeah, man, we got that going on, but that's not it. That's not it. There was another thing we wanted to talk about here. Oh yeah. So let me pull this down because we're done with this particular video. But so there was another community that decided that they wanted to vote and send Kamala Harris a message. They want to hold Kamala Harris accountable, and those were the folks who were part of the uncommitted, abandoned Harris movement. At first, it was the abandoned Biden movement. And these were a lot of Middle Eastern, Arab, Muslim folk who were happy with the Biden administration for his handling or his his handling of the war in Gaza. Never mind that America isn't in the war in Gaza. This is another thing that a lot of folks will say. They, like Trump is going to keep us out of foreign wars, as if we were in a fucking war right now. We are not in any foreign wars right now. There are a lot of proxy wars going on. So we send money in certain areas depending on where our allegiances lie, but we don't have any boots on the ground for any of these conflicts, right? So these are proxy wars by definition. And many Arab Americans are feeling disheartened by the Biden administration and his unwillingness to not send weapons to Israel while Israel is executing this war against the Palestinians. I would say that in large part, I don't disagree with them with their critique of Joe Biden and his insistence on allowing and continuing to arm Israel in this way, considering like to me what seems like an outsized response to what happened. Right now, that being said, as I've been saying over the course of the last 3 years, when people are talking about what Kamala Harris is doing, and do you understand how this fucking government works? Kamala Harris is not the president. She is not. So I can understand you might have a beef with Joe Biden, because at the end of the day, Joe Biden, the buck stops with him. Kamala Harris being held accountable for the actions of Joe Biden, that sound like a bunch of bullshit to me, right? But there were a lot of Arab, Muslim Americans who felt as though Kamala Harris was complicit and she aided in the genocide of a group of folk overseas, and they were going to hold Kamala Harris accountable for the actions of one Joe Biden. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me here. Because this is, we have a large Arab American population here in Michigan. It's the largest in the nation. And Dearborn, Michigan has the largest concentration of Arab Muslim Americans in the nation. And this was, and Donald Trump actually won. He actually won Dearborn, Michigan. Many of those folks voted for Jill Stein as well. Okay. But I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I do this here. All right. Here we go. Check this out, you guys.
One of the big talkers, of course, of this election has been the Arab American and Muslim vote. And last night we saw Dearborn, historically blue community, turn red for Donald Trump. Jacqueline Francis live tonight with the message behind that flip. Jacqueline.
Devin, we were here in Dearborn last night as the results rolled in, and then again today as Arab American and Muslim leaders called a news conference, hearing from those who turned their back on Kamala Harris over what's happening in the Middle East. At a watch party on election night in Dearborn,
I voted Democrat all my life, and this was a turning point for me.
We had a hint of what was to come. Who'd you vote for?
Jill Stein. My vote was a protest vote.
The next day, after the race was called for Donald Trump and the city of Dearborn flipped red.
And so we knew that we had a historic opportunity.
Leaders from the historically Democrat.
So he looked at this shit as an opportunity. We knew we had a historic opportunity. I don't know. I'm gonna just let me stop. I'm gonna let the video play.
Leaning community held a news conference saying their voices were heard.
To secure our political power for a generation, and we decided to take advantage of it.
Everyone who spoke at the news conference said they ditched the Democratic Party this election because of the Biden and Harris administration's handling of the war in Gaza and Lebanon.
But we've shown today that we were not bluffing when we drew a red line.
In the city of Dearborn, Donald Trump won with 42.48% of the vote. Kamala Harris got 36%, and third-party candidate Jill Stein received more than 18% of the vote.
A lot of people voted for Jill Stein just to basically say, you don't want to listen to us.
Trump also won in Dearborn Heights. I asked if they believe Trump will impose a ceasefire in the Middle East.
The Democrats are not stopping the genocide. If there's a 99% chance that Donald Trump will keep the genocide going, that's still better than the 100% chance that the Democrats are keeping it going.
Now, that's his logic. He believes that Kamala Harris would continue on what the Joe Biden administration has been doing, not necessarily giving Kamala Harris the chance or the opportunity to change course at all. Right now, interestingly enough, you would think that someone who told you that, hey, or better yet, they've already talked about Gaza being beachfront property. The Saudis have already given Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, over $2 billion for what they have not yet disclosed. Right? For what they have not yet disclosed. What makes you think that Donald Trump will bring a cease to whatever's going on there, considering considering how Donald Trump has largely and historically viewed the Muslim American community to begin with? Now, we talked about this last week when we were talking about the Muslim ban that Donald Trump was talking about bringing forth, and how many protests there were across the country and stuff like that when that came to be. A lot of black folks was out there on those picket lines protesting on behalf of a lot of these Arab Muslim folks when Donald Trump was talking about that Muslim ban, and he's talking about, we got to figure out what the fuck's going on, and we got all these Arab countries there. We not accepting anybody from any of these countries and everything else, right? Not only that, the other part, the other question that I really would have is, how do the people over there in Gaza, how do they feel about the fact that their folks over here voted for the person who wants Bibi Netanyahu to do whatever the fuck he needs to do? How do they feel about that? Like, y'all over here virtue signaling in America to make yourselves feel okay, but how do y'all, I wonder how they feel about that. Right? It's very interesting, like, kind of juxtaposition to, like, kind of think about. Like, how are they feeling about y'all over here in the media saying, yeah, well, the Biden administration, and then they're using Kamala Harris as an extension of that. Kamala Harris is her own complete person. But she wasn't given that opportunity to become president to actually exert what she would do. That may have been different from one Joe Biden. Maybe she doesn't have the diplomatic allegiances that Joe Biden has, because Joe Biden has been in government for so long and has been a foreign diplomat for so long. Because, Joe Biden had been a senator for a long fucking time before he ever became president. So he has some allegiances to some of these regions that maybe Kamala Harris doesn't have, and maybe she comes about these a much different way. But we've seen what Donald Trump offers. So, like, this is a very bold strategy here, guys. Like, the cut your nose off to spite your face strategy, very bold strategy. Let's see how it works out for him. See how it works out. But the idea of voting for a woman is also kind of keen here too. Now, I'm not going to go into some of the cultural things that I witnessed being a utility worker that works across Southeast Michigan, and some of the things but it wouldn't surprise me how many of these folks would also not see themselves voting for a woman. Right? Now, I wouldn't necessarily say these people see themselves on the ascension to whiteness in much the same way that some of our Hispanic brothers and sisters may identify themselves in, take some allegiance to, being adopted into the family of whiteness in much the same way that the Italians were, in much the same way that the Irish were, in much the same way that the Portuguese were, and things of that nature, right? They were brought into whiteness at some point. Maybe some of these Hispanic folks feel as though, hey, we're going to get brought into whiteness and we ain't got to worry about this. We ain't got to worry about this no more. Especially like some of these white identifying Cubans, right? So you got that going on. We got some more comments here in the chat. Reggie's T says, yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. I think he was talking about when he was talking about Kamala Harris and the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Games and Drinks says now Arabs are mad that we're opting out of the boycotts. Hey, it is what it is, man. He said get another sip because you going in and hey man, this is just like, come on, bro. We're witnessing this, man. I'm just calling this shit as I see it. I'm just calling this shit as I see it. As again, as we've been watching the quarterback, the Monday morning quarterbacking behind this election and what it means and why people voted the way that they did and all of the shit, man. Like some of this, we just got to cut straight through the bullshit. Cut straight through it. Because they're not going to gaslight me. I pay attention to this shit. I've been watching this shit closely for a very long time. I've been warning everyone around me about what was at stake. And for this to happen, and for so many of these motherfuckers, it's just like, now we're going to do this other thing. Okay, y'all got it. Y'all got it. So yeah, man, we got that going on. Now, did I have another video? I think I did. Let me see something real quick. Let me go into my, let me pull that down. Let me see if I had another one. I believe I had another one. Oh, yeah. I forgot all about this shit. Hold on. So I meant to talk about this when we were talking about, white anxiety and how they were voting, economic anxieties and all this other shit, right? I meant to talk about this around that time. But let me pull this. Oh shit, this video is age restricted. Now, why in the fuck would the video be age restricted? It's fucking MSNBC. And also, nigga, I'm of age. Okay, so I got to go to the original. Okay, then. Okay. But I wanted to pull this up because this is a video of Eddie Glaude talking with Stephanie Rule on, I believe this shit is called The 11th Hour on MSNBC. And he was basically, like, Eddie Glaude damn near had to say, hey, look, lady, look. This shit's about whiteness. No matter all this shit you talking about, this shit is about whiteness. It's always been about whiteness. I hate I even got to tell you this, but you, damn it, you just don't want to accept it. But he didn't say it like that, right? He tried to say it, soft and lovingly. And fucking, he tried to break her off, like, he tried to break her off soft, man. You know what I'm saying? But this is one of the few times where I did agree with Eddie Glaude because I remember Eddie Glaude, he caught a bunch of shit when folks found out that he did not vote for Hillary Clinton. And he says, he regrets not doing that and going on, television and telling people why he didn't want to do that and all these other things. But ultimately, I do agree with him here. And this video kind of speaks to like the reluctance that even some good, well-meaning white people have about confronting the fact that a lot of their family, a lot of their friends, a lot of the people that they're around, a lot of them are operating under a sense of white supremacy, even if they do not say it. Even if they're not even aware of it oftentimes, right? But the underlying, undergirding thing of all of this is white supremacy. And I think he did a really good job of kind of cutting through some of that. So I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with me. Hold on just a second while I do that. And here we go. Check this out, you guys.
Eddie, the fact that we were all so blindsided by the election results, does that tell us that identity politics is silencing people? Because even I can see in my social media feed in the last couple of days, all these people are suddenly like, yeah, that was my guy. We're hearing stories in the suburbs the day after the election. People are now putting Trump signs up.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, but let's be clear, Trumpism is a form of identity politics.
Amen.
We don't want to say that this, my beautiful white skin, remember? That's what he said?
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson saying in Madison Square Garden, we have been given permission to call BS on this wokeism stuff. We will no longer be made to feel guilty. That comes straight out of.
And also, like, I'm gonna tell y'all this right here, right now, man. Like, they will never take woke away from me. They're not taking that shit away from me. Like, I like a lot of white people feel as though they've taken woke and turned it into something else. No, bitch, you didn't. When I say woke, I mean to be fucking aware. And like, if you ask them to define what woke is, they don't fucking know. So they just, it doesn't mean what you're thinking means anymore. No, bitch, it do. It do. You never knew what the fuck it meant to begin with. Right? So yeah, man, like that whole idea of wokeism, like even wokeism, what the fuck is that? That's some shit that they created. Wokeism is some shit they created. We just call the shit woke. Ain't no wokeisms, nigga. The fuck are y'all talking about? Woke means to be aware. That's it. And if you're telling people not to be woke, you mean you're telling them not to be aware. And I'll be goddamn if I'm out here telling people, hey man, it's real nice over here not knowing what the fuck is going on. Right? Like the cognitive dissonance it takes for someone to know what a word means and then have someone tell them, no, man, that's not what it means. And I want you to think it means this other thing. That drug that is white supremacy is man, that shit's worse than smack, bro. Worse than fucking smack.
We will not be replaced. That came straight out of Tucker.
There were a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump who didn't listen to the rally and who don't know who Tucker Carlson is, but who are super unhappy about inflation, that they can't afford their lives, and they voted for him. And they're not buying into fascism.
I get that, but I think they have an idea, though, that whenever the incoherence of the country comes into full view, the tricky magic of falling into place, falling behind a notion of whiteness that could hold off all the reason why all hell is breaking loose economically, right, is because big government is putting its thumb on the scale and redistributing resources from deserving people to undeserving people, right? So there's this sense, right, that whiteness, right, is under threat. The demographic shifts. The country isn't what all of these racially ambiguous children on Cheerios commercials are confusing the hell out of me. Right?
Eddie, a lot of people voted because their life's too damn expensive, and it was here, and it.
They voted for. You're telling me, Stephanie, that all of these people who believe that their lives are that bread is too high and eggs are too high, that they voted for a convicted felon. A guy who said we can grab the pea.
I think that a lot.
They voted for this guy.
I'm not defending it, but I think there are tons of.
This is a white woman who does not want to confront the idea that the people she knows, the people she loves, the people she's around are subject to the white supremacy too, because they're not outwardly calling anybody niggas. They're not actually, outwardly calling anyone, any other derogatory term, whether that be, spick or faggot or whatever, like derogatory term you can come up for any marginalized group. They're not outwardly doing these things. So because they're not outwardly doing these things, then somehow they're just voting for the economy. My life is hard. As if everyone else's life isn't hard also. But she can't fathom the idea that these folks were buying into this white supremacy. She can't fathom this. And there's a lot of people like this. There's a lot of them like this. But her especially. And this is why I thought that this was important to play.
people that don't pay attention to, and I'm not defending it, don't pay attention to politics at all. But while we live in the most prosperous country in the world, people are saying life's not fair. I'm not doing well. My son's still living in the basement. I can't seem to get a job. I don't like the status quo. I'm voting for something else. And he was
I
the person.
love you to life.
I love you.
But I do not believe that. I cannot believe that. And the reason I think you believe it is because you don't want to believe that that's what's really motivating them. It's always the case. People don't want to believe what the country actually is, because if they believe it, they're going to have to confront what's in them. I don't believe that. They voted for a crook, a person who they know is stealing from, just doing everything to undermine the so-called country that they love. And then they're telling us the BS that it's economics. We know that's not true. We know it's not true. And we got to raise our kids in this. Oops.
You're allowed.
That's when you know you was feeling it. 'Cause, you know, that's when you know you was feeling like, because, God damn it. Because black folks are like, we so sick and tired of having to explain this shit over and over and over and over again to well-meaning white folk. But when you can't confront the reality that is your proximity, I confront the niggas that I'm around and tell them like, hey man, that was some bullshit you was on. Or better yet, I will disassociate myself from you if you continue on with this bullshit. I've done that a lot lately, man. A lot. When I would see people talking about, man, you know, you don't want to like just start disowning people because y'all disagree on politics. Like, hey, man, that's some bullshit. It's always been bullshit. That just because I'm supposed to be tolerant means I'm supposed to tolerate the intolerable. No, fuck you. If you're going to be against what makes my life good. If making my life hard is your MO, fuck you. If voting for some shit that is going to put people that I love and know in danger, fuck you. Unfortunately, some of our folks fell for the okie doke. On the, you know, when it comes, we talking to black people, not a whole lot of us. A lot of us are pretty privy to what the okie doke is. But then you got all these other people, some of these other, you know, populations who have followed the blueprint of black people's, you know, social justice advocacy, and like just kind of take for granted that we are going to be on the forefront of that for their, you know, for not only just for our shit, but for their shit as well. And then act as though like we just supposed to like always be there. And like when you decide that you're going to like kind of go off and do a fucking side mission when we on the main mission, and you fucking compromise the main mission, hey man, fuck you. We're not going to keep doing this. At a certain point, if I keep doing the same shit and expecting the difference, I'm insane, right? So that is the attitude that I think a lot of black folks are taking on, especially when they got the message this time. When we had a clear choice with a 34-time convicted felon, civilly liable adjudicated sexual assaulter, indicted 4 times with over 80 or 90 counts at one point, whom we saw lead an insurrection on the United States and tried to overtake the government. And then we put this, you motherfuckers decided that's what's going back into the seat of power? Considering what the alternative was? Yeah, no, y'all got it. Y'all got it. So there's going to be a lot of black folks who just going like, hey, man, we taking care of our own, man. Like, I mean, you know, more power to y'all. I hope y'all, y'all got y'all shit together and everything, man. Like, yeah. All that they go for me, yeah, man. I don't know about we, I might put a hashtag up or something like that, maybe. But it's gonna be a lot of people, black folks checking out, bro. A lot of black folks checking out. Let's see, we got some more comments here. It says Rick Rude says, every time they speak about inflation, I ask them, how the fuck is tariffs going to help that? And that's the other part, man. Tariffs are not going to help that. A lot of people think that price is going to magically come down when Donald Trump becomes president, and they're going to be in for a rude awakening when this motherfucker does impose these tariffs on some of these things, and the prices of the stuff that they would normally be buying at a lower price will not be lower because those tariffs are not going to be paid by the country that the tariffs are being imposed upon. They're going to be imposed upon your ass by higher prices at the fucking store. It's the reality of the situation, man. Reality of the situation. So we got another comment here. Games and Drinks says traditional right versus 2000 right is leaps. Man, listen, even 2000 is right. My very first presidential election was 2000. I voted for Al Gore. Al Gore should have won. He won the popular vote, and the Supreme Court decided to pull their shenanigans and stop the recounts when Al Gore was coming closer to overtaking George Bush down there in Florida and everything. But yeah, man, like, this isn't even that. I voted for Republicans before, back in the day, man. Like, when it was like, yo, man, Republicans wasn't near as crazy as they are now. I wouldn't be caught dead voting for a Republican now. None of these motherfuckers are sane to me. Right? So, yeah, man. Oh, shit. Here's another thing. Let me pull this down. Because I meant to talk about this shit earlier, too. God damn it, Spann. I didn't mean to go on this long, but fuck it. I swear to God, I didn't mean to go on this long. But fuck it. Stephen A. Smith punk ass, man. This nigga, man. This nigga, man. Stephen A. Smith went on his fucking podcast and decided to excoriate Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama because he says that they tried to shame black men into voting for Kamala Harris, man. And to that, I just
shut up. Shut the fuck up. Damn. Enough. Boy, I've been sick to my fucking stomach watching you imbeciles type things. Yeah. Stop typing. You niggas are stupid.
Yeah. That was some of the stupidest shit I heard ever coming out of this nigga's mouth. So I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with me. This comes from his Stephen A. Smith show. And yo, man, I'm sure at some point I'm probably gonna get, like, they probably gonna flag this shit on YouTube, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I've been playing so much videos of these niggas talking stupid, and they gonna probably, but it is what it is, man. If you're listening to the podcast later, you gonna get the podcast later. But the YouTube video, they might try to take this shit down. I'm just letting y'all know right now. I'm letting y'all know right now, man. They gonna probably try to take this shit down. But yeah, Stephen A. Smith went on his show talking about Trump has completed the greatest political comeback in fucking history. And it's just,
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
So yeah, let me because I had a timestamp on this bitch and I don't forgot where the fuck the timestamp was. Okay, hold on a second. Let me scrub and get to the point where I need to get to.
So I want to thank the American
before I pull this up on y'all. So let me do this here. Because he got to talking shit about all the celebrities that were supporting Kamala Harris and shit. And, how, Donald Trump, like, defied all the odds and all this shit, right? Let me see if I can get to this point as I scrub on this video. And no, that's not it. Where were we? Was it at the 19-minute mark? Let's see. Maybe it was here. Let me see what he's talking about right now.
Office who did it and was still popular amongst liberals.
Okay, yeah. He's hollering and shit too, so, there's that. Here we go. All right. So it's probably around 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me. And let's see what this goofy motherfucker here is talking about. Check this out, you guys.
On James, even though he just put out and go on a entirely different path than Biden was going. And she didn't do it. That was point number 2. Let me tell you what point number 3 was. All these celebrities, Taylor Swift, Michelle Obama, Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, Oprah. The list went on and on and on. Let me tell you what the problem with all of that was. Let's not forget LeBron James, even though he just put out a tweet. Let me tell you what the problem with that was. Michelle Obama giving a speech in Kalamazoo where she skillfully and brilliantly detailed reproductive rights. Wasn't talking about abortion. She was talking about reproductive rights for women. Fair enough. But then she added a line by saying a vote for him was a vote against us. Don't believe what I'm saying? Take a listen.
We are the ones with the knowledge and experience to know what we need. So please do not hand our fates over to the likes of Trump, who knows nothing about us, who has shown deep contempt for us. Because a vote for him is a vote against us, against our health, against our worth.
You see what Michelle Obama said right there? I'm here to tell you that I believe if Michelle Obama was running, she would have won this election by a landslide. She's that popular. She's that skilled. She's a brilliant orator. She's a wonderful woman, the greatest.
And she's also told you motherfuckers she doesn't want the fucking position. So stop even bringing that bullshit up. Michelle Obama does not like politics. Michelle Obama didn't even want Barack to run for president, bruh. Michelle Obama hates fucking politics. I really need people to stop lamenting the fact that Michelle Obama never ran for nothing. Michelle Obama does not want the shit. Shut the fuck up about Michelle Obama running for president. She does not want the fucking job. Stop.
First lady I think this country has ever seen. But when she added that line, how you think American citizens felt?
That she was telling the truth. She was telling the motherfucking truth. Have we not seen the rhetoric around Donald Trump when it comes to women and their reproductive health? Have we not seen Donald Trump appoint justices to the Supreme Court that got rid of Roe versus Wade, that now has doctors that not even so much that has doctors, because it wasn't just that, but the Republican legislatures around the country that couldn't wait for Roe versus Wade to be overturned so that they can then implement their own policies within their own states. And now we have a hodgepodge of whether or not women have rights or not concerning their bodily autonomy. What former First Lady Michelle Obama said was the fucking truth. Now, whether you feel bad about Michelle Obama telling you the truth, that's on you. She didn't fucking pander to anyone. She didn't gaslight anyone. She didn't blow smoke up anyone's ass. She told you the fucking truth, nigga.
So in other words, if we don't agree with you, we're against you. It didn't affect me because I'd already voted for Kamala Harris.
And he thinks this is his out. Right? He thinks this is his out. Well, I voted for Kamala Harris. Yeah. Okay, nigga. You did the bare fucking minimum. But then you get on the microphone in front of millions, in front of thousands or hundreds of thousands, and you get on and you say this stupid shit. Come on, man. Come on, dude. What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
Might not have affected most women, maybe some. How'd you think the men felt about that? So we have to do what you tell us to do, otherwise we're anti-you.
Pretty much, nigga. It's not hard. This shit is not fucking rocket science. Hey, bro, they ain't asking you to break down the cover, too. They ain't asking you to break down the motherfucking 1-3-1 zone, nigga, in the NBA, bro. They're not asking you to do that. They're not asking you to, like, you know, whether or not you should bunt in this particular situation, whether or not you should motherfucking, fight this nigga and take the penalty and have, you know, a 5-4 power play or nothing like that. They're not asking you none of that shit. Hey, man, my rights to my body are on the line. And if you let this motherfucker become president, my rights to my body will be further mitigated. And you think, well, how did the men feel? Fuck these niggas, man. It ain't their bodies on the line. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about, dude? For all of the millions of dollars that you get to talk on the motherfucking microphone, this is some of the dumbest shit I probably ever heard this nigga say. Some of the dumbest shit.
Thought that worked? Do y'all know anything about most men? Think that's gonna work? How about this one from Oprah? Take a listen.
If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. And let me be very clear. If you do not make sure that the people in your life can get to the polls, that is a mistake. Deciding not to decide, that is most definitely a vote to let other people control your future.
Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965, been in place since 1965.
That doesn't mean that they will continue to be. Dickhead. That does not mean that they will continue to be. Did you not hear what the fuck we've been talking about when it comes to the Supreme Court? This Supreme Court has been an activist Supreme Court. They are already taking rights away from people. You think that they would, hey, well, like that's a bridge too, nigga? They already like start, hey, affirmative action. We chipping away at that. The Voting Rights Act of 1964. They already chipped away at that. That's how a lot of these states in the South were able to start. Hey, we need voter ID here. Hey, we're gonna start closing polling places here. Hey, this idea of giving people water while you in line to go vote and stuff like that. Yeah. That's illegal now. These were things that had been chipped away because the Supreme Court, a Republican conservative leaning Supreme Court, started chipping away at these fucking rights. So the act is though, well, we got these rights from this 1964, 1965, Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act. Hey, nigga, the dude who put more Supreme Court justices on this court right now is chipping away at that as we fucking speak. The dude who's going to occupy the White House these next 4 years, has said, you might not ever have to vote again. Now, I know a lot of you motherfuckers, especially, people, rich motherfuckers like this asshole here, feel as though, he didn't mean that shit, man. Donald Trump just be talking shit sometimes, man, Meanwhile, you got motherfuckers who use Trey Gowdy, who used to be a United States congressman, going on Fox News, talking about how maybe we can come up with a constitutional amendment that would allow Donald Trump to run for a third term. They are out and out saying what the fuck they want to do. Meanwhile, you talking, well, how do you think the men feel about you saying these things? Nigga, what? Like, so again, going back to some of that shit I was talking about earlier, when I was talking about some of the brothers and some of the sisters who were dealing with the brothers who they know voted for Trump. Like this nigga say he voted for Kamala Harris, and yet he still, he coming at sisters, some of our more prominent ones, for telling the truth. Donald Trump said that you might not ever have to vote again. Donald Trump has already implemented justices on the Supreme Court that told you, hey, your right to your body is not yours anymore. And you on here talking about, but what about how the men feel? Nigga, what? Yeah, man, it's gonna be a very motherfucking interesting 4 years. Very interesting 4 years, man. Real talk. Let's see. We got a couple comments here. Rick is in the chat. He says, where's your super chat option, bro? I need to get one, brother. I need to get one. Trust me, by the next time I do a show, there will be a super chat option. And I appreciate you asking about it, because you didn't put that in here a couple times. But I appreciate you, you asking, man. Like, because, that's another way to put down for the show. And I appreciate you for even wanting to contribute in that way, man. Real talk. But by next show, there will be a super chat option. Thank you, brother. Games and Drinks is saying, let's see what we got here. It says, I can't respect a man that hides engagement behind a check. Hey, man, this is who Stephen A. Smith is, bro. Like, and it's not just him. I mean, everybody, like, to a certain degree, especially when you start talking about social media and you start talking about content creation and everything else, man, a lot of this is just, hey, man, how much are you getting paid? What are your metrics? How much, how many people are listening to you? How many people are following you and everything else? A lot of this shit is geared towards the audience engagement and things of that nature. And yeah, he already had prominence before he came into this space. But, with that being said, I will never be afraid to just call shit the way that I fucking see it. And like, to listen to this nigga get on this fucking, like, because I know he has a very fucking large platform, but to listen to this nigga get on here and say this and say, well, I voted for Kamala, as if that gives you a pass. No, nigga, it doesn't. You sound like a fucking idiot saying, well, but what about how the men feel when these women are no longer have the same level of rights that they had for the last 50 years? Nigga, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Like, real talk, man. Yo, man. Yeah, right. This is true. My man Rick is in the chat. He says, what else could we expect from Sean Hannity's black friend? You're very much right, my brother. You're very much right. I had another thing. You know what? Fuck it. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna get on up out of here, because I've been going on for quite some time. I didn't expect to be going on this long, but it is what it is, man. So those text messages, a lot of folks were getting text messages from. I'm sorry, but a lot of folks were getting like racist text messages after Donald Trump, won the election this last week, and my cousin hit me up. My cousin Nita from Indiana hit me up, and she said, hey, cuz, did you get any of this text message? And she sent me a screenshot that somebody sent her, about some slavery shit or whatever. And they're like, what? I'm like, nah, ain't nobody stupid enough to send me no shit like that. Right? But she said a lot of her friends have, started receiving those text messages. I'm like, well, nah, I haven't gotten one. But, just know, your boy over here, like, even on election night, I was over here, like, even though I feel like even looking back on the shit, I feel like I was being a little bit irrational, but at the same time, like, right? I was over here loading up all my guns and shit, right? And she sent me this text message or whatever, and I was looking at it, I said, no, I haven't gotten any of this. But then what shocked me was that, like, these text messages, like, were like making national news and shit. And so I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with me here. Because I get this this is from KTLA in California, and I'm gonna pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me. But apparently, this wasn't just happening with my cousin, man. This was happening with a few folks. So let me pull this. Go ahead and play this here. Let's see what's happening.
Authorities working to find the origins of racist text messages sent to black people, including children, across the country.
Yeah, the disturbing messages reference slavery and have been reported in more than 20 different states. KTLA's Carlos Herrera live for us in our newsroom with more on these hateful messages. Carlos, talk to us. What's going on this morning?
Very disturbing and concerning, ladies. This is a widespread coordinated attack. The text messages were sent anonymously and received by black college, high school, and middle school students across nearly a dozen states. Locally, students in the Inland Empire, San Fernando Valley, Brentwood, and other LA areas have reported the messages of hate-filled rhetoric reminiscent of the country's painful and bigoted past. Here's a live look of Santa Monica High School, where several students received the offensive texts a day after Election Day. They reported the situation to school administrators immediately, had some talks with their parents, and shared the screenshots with police. Take a look. One of the texts reading, quote, "You have been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. Be ready by 7 p.m. November 6, 2024. With your bags packed, our executive slaves will come pick you up in a black and white truck. You may not have any weapons or sharp things on you when it's time for pickup. You are in Group B." The students who received the text, their parents, teachers, school staff, and school officials say they're outraged. Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District Superintendent Dr. Antonio Shelton saying he is disheartened, saying, quote, "Targeting our students with racist messages is unfathomable. Whoever or whatever."
Yeah. They're going to give you the boilerplate. Now, one of the things I would say about this before we get out of here, one of the things I will say about this is that I feel as though this isn't as large a conspiracy as a lot of folks may feel like it may be. I feel as though this may, at some point, we will find out later on that there was a like some sort of Reddit group or some sort of 4chan group, 8chan group or whatever, and they concocted this prank as a way to troll a lot of black folks, right? Now, I know some people will try to figure out, they're like, well, shit, how did they get my name? Right? How did they get my name? Why? Because some of these text messages were sent and they had folks' names in the text message. Like, well, hey, Sheila, you were in Group B. The slave, pickup van is going to pick you up at this time, yada, yada, yada. And one thing I will say is this. Hey, could be somebody I won't say, I don't know whether or not it's like someone black, someone white or whatever. It could be someone who just thinks this shit is fucking funny. Right? Now, a lot of folks were like, yo, how could someone like send me a text, even if it was somebody I know? How would they be able to send me a text message and I don't know the phone number and everything else? I'm gonna show you exactly how they could do it, right? So let me go ahead and stop this here, and I'm gonna show you exactly how they would do it, because it's not that fucking hard, man. It really isn't. So where is it? Well, let me move this over here. That way it'll be easy for me to do this. Okay. So wait, let me cancel that and share. Okay, here we go. So it's not that hard. There is a website. As a matter of fact, there are a bunch of apps that you can use in order for you to get a second phone number, right? Google Voice is actually if you guys call the hotline that I have here for the podcast, that is a Google Voice number. I've had that number for about 15 years now, right? It's like you can call the hotline, you can leave a voicemail, or you can call into the show while we're doing the show live. It'll ring on my fucking tablet, it'll ring on my computer, it'll ring on my phone, and you leave a voicemail, or you can call and talk to us live while we're doing the show, right? But that's one way for you to be able to get a second phone number for you to be able to text someone with, right? But there are other services, man. There's another app. There's an app here called Second Line. I'll pull this up here so you guys can see. This is on Google Play. It's called Second Line, second phone number. This app has been downloaded 10 million times, bro. This app gives you a second phone number for you to be able to make phone calls, for you to be able to make text messages and everything else, right? Now, this is just on Google's Android's phones, where you could this is just for you to be able to this is for you to be able to call people from a separate phone number if you don't want to give out your real phone number, to text people from a second phone number if you do not want to give them your real phone number. You can do that with this app. This is just one app. This one particular app already has 10 million downloads. This is available on Android and iPhone, right? There's also other apps, man. We've got another one called Hushed, another one called Open Phone. Let's see what Open Phone is talking about. How to get a second number without a landline or a SIM card. Like, so there are a bunch of different apps, a bunch of different services that will allow for you to, you know, kind of spoof a number, come up and create a whole different number. Someone close to you might have your phone number and decided they want to troll you in this way. Now, I'm not saying that this is exactly what this is, because I'm speculating just like everyone else. But I know a lot of folks were trying to figure out, hey, how did they get my number? And the reason why it's like I'm going this route is because I'm saying, like, hey, it could be somebody you actually know. Could be. White, black, or whatever. Who thinks this is just funny. Thinks this is the game. But ultimately, could be someone you know. So, I mean, kind of govern yourselves accordingly after that, though, right? So, we got that going on, man. But, yo, like I said, I've been going on for quite some time, man. I've been running my mouth for quite a bit. I didn't expect to go on this long tonight. Shit. It's time for me to get on up out of here, man. I got to get ready to go to work tomorrow and shit. I got to lay it down and wind down and whatever else. But, of course, before we get on up out of here, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here and responded to here live on the show. And if you're watching this live here on the show, go ahead and hit me up while we're talking our shit on the show, man. I appreciate when you guys call in the show and we can chop it up, man. Real talk. Area code 313-288-0485. You can also leave us an email at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails. And of course, those emails will get read here and replied to here live as well. Follow me on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky, man. My name on all of those platforms is Mr._Spann. I'm sorry, shit. My name is Mr._Spann on Instagram and Threads. Ain't no underscore on the Blue Sky shit. Right? But on Threads and Instagram, Mr._Spann. Follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, man, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We really do appreciate everybody who does that. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Official, the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. And also, man, if you're watching this via YouTube, man, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Spann Report on YouTube, man, and leave us those comments. Those comments will get read here on the show, man. We appreciate everybody who does that. Again, that's free, man. It doesn't cost you shit to do that, man. So we appreciate everybody who does that. And if you want to give us some money, man, if you do want to contribute to the financial well-being of the show, go ahead and hit up our store, man. Go to tpublic.com/The Spann Report. Go ahead, copy yourself some merch, man. It's getting warm. Cold outside. Go ahead, get yourself a nice warm hoodie, man, with the Mr. Spann Official on there, man. That look nice, man. It look real nice on you. And I appreciate it. But also, man, we got some other designs as well, man. You know, we got our beer and chicken stuff. We got our Baywatch stuff, man. We got some highly inappropriate stuff coming soon too, right? Our sister Cook is coming back, man. So, yeah, man, we got some stuff that's coming, and we got some stuff in the store. We appreciate those of you who would contribute to us in that way, man. We really do appreciate that. That does cost you a little bit of money, but you do get something back on the back end of that, man. Real talk. I am about to get on up out of here. I enjoyed the conversation with the chat room tonight, man. Again, like I said, we went on a hell of a lot longer than I thought we would tonight, but it was a good conversation, man, and I enjoyed talking with you guys tonight, man. Real talk. I am about to get on up out of here, but I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.